It's time for Where Hollywood Hides. Here's Bob and Suzanne.
Chicken joke!
I'm Mrs. Cleaver.
From Television City in Hollywood.
Boy, the way Glenn Miller plays.
I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore.
We're on a mission from God.
Run, Forrest, run!
We can rebuild him. We have the technology.
You had me at hello.
Nanu.
Baby, you're the great.
I'm not going to be ignored.
Here comes the judge.
Go ahead. Make my day.
I got nowhere else to go!
Small cowbell.
That fashion.
There's anything wrong with that. You can't handle the truth.
I'm not an actor, I'm a movie star! That's the story of my life. No respect. I don't get no respect at all. I'm the dude.
I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
And now for something completely different.
There's no business like show business, like no business I know.
Welcome to Where Hollywood Hides. This is podcast episode number 63. My name is Bob McCullough.
And my name is Suzanne Herrera McCullough. Good morning.
Good morning. Hey, listen, before we get started, I want to remind everybody that our book, Money for Your Movie Guaranteed, is now available as a video course, a live video course starring Mark Stauffer. And this is the way to find the money you need to make your independent movie. Money for Your Movie Guaranteed is the step-by-step guide that shows you exactly how to raise significant amounts of production financing and retain complete control of your movie. Everybody's making a movie, but nobody has the money. This is the way to get it. And it's moneyforyourmovieguaranteed.com.
So I'm very, very excited. I know I say this before every podcast, but I'm extra excited. This year on October 18th is the 60th anniversary of Westside Story. It's a must-see if you've never seen it. It won 10 Academy Awards, which was the most any musical had ever won up to 1961. I was reading that they had worn out 200 pairs of dancing shoes.
I believe it.
Before they even filmed.
Oh, my goodness.
Talk about rehearsal, all right? And they performed over 30 different recording sessions. That's a lot.
Wow.
So it's a lot of singing and dancing. And I also read that Tony, the main lead character, they originally had wanted Elvis Presley. Can you imagine what it would have been like?
A different movie entirely.
Yes, but his agent did not want him to do it.
Ah, the Colonel.
Yeah.
The control freak Colonel Parker.
I'm sure Elvis would have loved to have done it because he sang, he danced, and he really looked the part, right?
Yeah, but Richard Beymer did a fabulous job in that role.
He did. You can't picture anybody else besides him now.
Right,
for sure. Anyway, very excited because who are we going to interview, Bob?
The lead member of the Sharks playing Bernardo Nunez, George Chakiris, fantastic actor, singer, dancer.
And so many credits.
You know, you only think of West Side Story when you think of George Chakiris, but in the 70s, he was in every TV show ever broadcast, I guess. He was in Murder, She Wrote, Superboy. So you were in some of these shows, Suzanne. Santa Barbara, the soap opera, Dallas, Helltown series, Poor Little Rich Girls, that was a great show. Scarecrow and Mrs. King, Matt Houston, Chips. You were on the set with George Chakiris.
Okay.
Fantasy Island.
My big breakout role.
Excuse me, Wonder Woman, Medical Center. Suzanne is blushing as I'm reading these credits because half of them are hers. But George Chakiris was in so many shows and so many movies. He was also a major star internationally in Europe, and he has a brand new book out that we're going to be talking about.
Here's George Chakiris.
So George Chakiris, this is a real thrill for Suzanne and myself.
We are so excited.
God, thank you so much. It's great for me, too. What can I say,
The fascinating thing for me is that I grew up loving West Side Story, and I know that I'm not the only one. It's currently, I believe it's number 30 on the all-time best movies.
Listen, they made a really wonderful, it was a great theater production, of course. That's how it started. And Bob Wise, Jerry Robbins, they made a beautiful movie. They really did.
I just can't imagine how Spielberg is going to top that, frankly.
Well, I'll tell you what. He's a wonderful filmmaker. He'll do something he'll do something beautiful. I'm pretty sure. The only thing that I think is worth remembering about him doing West Side Story is that he's not creating it. It was created decades ago. So
exactly.
He has this so he has this extraordinary template to work from and work with and play with in whatever way he wants. But I just think I like to say that just because I like a young audience who may not know history, to appreciate that other people, Jerry Robbins, Leonard Bernstein, Stephen Sondheim, Arthur Lawrence, they are the creators of West Side Story, not Steven Spielberg, with all due respect, because I'm sure he's going to do something really wonderful.
That's a very good point.
Isn't it amazing to think that at a certain point in our lives, so much genius came together at one time and managed to produce such a lasting classic?
I'm so glad to hear you say that, because it was a one-time only occurrence, and they were so invested in what they're doing, and they really made something everlasting and really beautiful. What an extraordinary quartet of talent and genius,
Yeah, the stars really did align.
So George,
you're right. That's a great way to put it. The stars did align. Yeah.
So George, we know you must have done this a million times, and you have to be patient with us because we have a lot of new listeners, older as well as younger. Can you take us way back to when you were a little boy? Oh, and by the way, we read your book. What a fabulous book! Fabulous stories.
Oh my God. Thank you. Wow.
Great book. So we would love to know, at what age did you start thinking about being a performer? Did you come from a showbiz family?
No, I did not come from a showbiz family. I grew up in Norwood, Ohio, and Tucson, Arizona, and then finally Long Beach. And I didn't know that theater existed, but I certainly knew about movies, and I loved movies like so many of us do. That was my world that I escaped into whenever I could. So when I was a kid in Tucson, Arizona, probably 7 or 8 years old, I sang in a boys' choir, and we performed. We sang at a Easter sunrise service at the Grand Canyon, and then when we moved to Long Beach, I sang in a Episcopal church choir, St. Luke's Episcopal Church in Long Beach, and that particular choir did sing over the years for a lot of different movies. And we got to I was with that choir for about 5 years, singing every Sunday in church and rehearsing every Thursday night. It was great. I just loved it. But we did get to sing and be in a concert sequence at MGM in a movie called Song of Love with Katharine Hepburn and Paul Henry and Robert Walker. And so I was on a movie lot. I couldn't believe it. And there was Frank Sinatra walking down the street. There was
oh my God, you must have been so excited.
Oh, it was unbelievable. It was just so amazing to. I landed where I wanted to be. It was so. That was my first but very heady experience, and that experience sort of cemented where I thought I had no idea. I had no practical reasons or knew how to do anything. But that convinced me or cemented in me the desire to want to do something. And then when I was in high school in Long Beach, there was a girl in school, Joan Scanlon. I was crazy about Joan. She was a dancer, and I was her partner sometime in some of the high school assemblies. And it was Joan who told me about a dancing school in Hollywood at 7021 Hollywood Boulevard called the American School of Dance. And Joan told me that Leslie Caron and Cyd Charisse took class there. That's all I had to hear. And I took the train one morning from Long Beach to Hollywood to that school to watch a professional class at 11:30 one morning. Nobody famous in class, but that was it. I knew I had it, that I wanted to study there. And so I don't remember how I did it all, but I got a job working at the May Company downtown Los Angeles in the advertising department as an office boy from 8 to 5 every day and taking 2 classes every night. So that was that, and then going to that school and taking dancing classes, I was meeting kids who were already dancing in chorus in the movies. So at that time, a lot of them were working on Singing in the Rain. So it was, so there I was, closer to, involved, and eventually I did get to work, of course, in as a chorus dancer in some of the great movie musicals myself. But that's a quick kind of way of letting you know how things happened to me. And again, but I always knew as a kid, I just fell in love with the world, that imaginary world of movies, and I knew I wanted. Yeah, sorry.
And your timing was impeccable, because that was really the heyday of American movie musicals, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, it was. And you're right. I was the time was so lucky, Yeah, that was. When I look back, I loved working on those as a dancer on those movie musicals. We all had such a great time. We got to work with great choreographers, be in wonderful movies, and work behind wonderful stars. It was amazing, just amazing.
And I think at that time, and don't take this the wrong way, you are an extraordinarily handsome man, and in those days, the movie stars were handsome people. They weren't character types per se. And so I think you, when I see photographs of you in chorus groups in some of these movies, you really do stand out. I mean, your eye goes right to, who is that guy? And frankly,
well, he also had talent, Bob.
A lot of talent. And frankly, I think you can thank your mother for that. She was a gorgeous woman.
I'll tell you, my parents, both of them. My mother was a beautiful woman. My father was a very handsome guy. My siblings, we're a good-looking family. It turns out my sisters, my brother, but you're right. Thanks to our beautiful parents, not just physically beautiful, but beautiful as people. We were so lucky to be born to that couple. I mean, I honor and revere my parents so much for just being glorious people. So
can you tell our audience how big your family was? I was pretty impressed when I read this in the book.
Okay, my parents' first child died when he was 8 months old. But there were ultimately 7 of us, not a small family, and a very close, really wonderful family. So, and my parents were, as they say, hardworking people, and they were. But they again, I just keep saying what beautiful people they were, because with time we recognize just around us, even today, people who we like and people who we think are not so great. My parents were extraordinary people. They really were.
And George, were they supportive in your career?
Yes, absolutely. They were. They were totally supportive all the time. I love that question, because over the years, from so many of my friends, I've heard how their families didn't like them having anything to do with show business, but my family was totally supportive of what I was hoping I could do. Yeah, they were totally on my side.
And so after dance school, you became a contract player at Paramount, didn't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In what movie called White Christmas, talking about being seen in the behind stars and so on. Rosie Clooney, and Rosie, by the way, was a glorious person. She was so darling. But Rosie does a number in White Christmas called "Love You Didn't Do Right by Me," in which there were only 4 guys around her, as opposed to lots of guys around her. So in that number, each of the 4 of us, got a separate shot with Rosie, so people could actually see us, And it turns out I got a lot of fan mail from that. There was a layout in Life magazine with photographs from that movie, and one of them was the picture of Rosie with the 4 of us around her. So girls clipped out that picture, and they sent other, who is this guy? And so Robert Emmett Delwin, who was the producer of White Christmas, thought that was worth paying attention to. And thanks to him, Paramount tested me. I did a an acting test and a musical test. And I was signed to a 7-year contract at Paramount Studios. And that, it's just saying that right now to you makes me realize all the lovely things that happen along the way.
Were you nervous?
Probably, but I when I think back, I don't think of myself as I think I'm more nervous now than I ever was then. But
isn't that funny? Because that was such a big deal in your career to get signed.
Well, you were ready for your close-up, certainly. So I noticed something in going through the book very carefully. The women in your life, that's an amazing roster. I mean, going from, and I'm probably saying this out of order, but Judy Garland, Liza Minnelli, Marlene Dietrich, Elaine Stritch, Liz Taylor, Marilyn Monroe, Queen Elizabeth, and Phyllis Diller. My goodness.
Oh, Phyllis became a really great friend. All of those women were extraordinary. Phyllis and I became really great friends. So
these women have had a lot of effect on your life, and I think I want to hear more about Ruth Mitchell, because that sounded like that was God looking out for you.
Well, you're right. Again, just lucky timing. When work for dancers was kind of coming to an end, because Hollywood, the movie musicals were coming kind of to an end in the 50s, the mid 50s, I'll say. I did what a few of us the kids had already done, and that was make the move to New York to see how we could move on there. And I bought a one-way ticket to New York, and some friends of mine who had already made the move put me up on the couch in their living room, so I had a place to stay. But these two girls that whose apartment I stayed in, one of them was working for Roger L. Stevens, who was a huge Broadway producer. I think it was involved in Westside Story as well. So they knew everything that was going on in New York. And one of the things that was going on at that time, talk about lucky timing, was Westside Story was just coming up to its 1-year anniversary in the theater, and they were auditioning for replacements for that production, and also to create the London company. So these girls, Mary Ann and Drew, told me to go to the Winter Garden Theater where Westside Story was playing, to go to the stage door, ask for Ruth Mitchell. And I did that one evening, and then serendipity, again, that same night that I went there, the first person I saw at the stage door was a guy called Howard Jeffrey, who had been at the American School of Dance, and I knew Howard from that time. He was at that time assisting Jerry Robbins on Westside Story. So the first person I saw at the stage door of the Winter Garden Theater was Howard Jeffrey. It was so great to see him. He was, Howie, George, it was great to see each other. And he's the one who introduced me to Ruth Mitchell for the first time. And she looked at me and she was darling. She was very nice. And she suggested I read for Jerry Robbins for the role of Bernardo. She gave me a script. And she set up a time for me to audition. It was about 2 weeks later. And I went in 2 weeks later to audition for Jerry Robbins. During his break, he was working on Ballets USA. But during his lunch break, I read for him. I read for Bernardo. And after I read Bernardo, he then asked me to look at the role of Riff. And I took about 20 minutes to go into the wings and look at that role. And then I read Riff. And then Jerry asked me to learn Cool. In the theater version, Cool is sung by Riff. So they gave me the sheet music. I worked on Cool and came back a couple of weeks later and auditioned again for Jerry. And then it was on my birthday, September 16, 1958. Ruth Mitchell called me one morning and told me that I had the role of Riff in the London Company. And on that same morning, I had 7 checks from California Unemployment, $35 each. So it was such an amazing birthday. But the great thing, of course, was the call from Ruth Mitchell, and she was really lovely. She was great.
Now, when you're auditioning for someone like Jerome Robbins, you're reading lines, and you had been trained as a dancer, I understand. What was what was your acting background? I mean,
I had no acting background. It's amazing what what you can do when you're called upon to do it. You just find the resources in yourself to do it. And I have to say, I suppose it came naturally because I did well enough for them to actually hire me. But I think one of the first requirements in the production, in the theater production of Westside, a theater production of Westside Story, the first achievement that people have to be able to do is they have to be dancers first. But then once they're hired as dancers, they ought to be actors and singers as well. So that experience brings out those other elements and needs that people have to come up with. And it's extraordinary what you can do when you really need to. You don't think about it; you just do it. And of course,
George,
you learn in the process.
I have to stop you and say, not everybody could do what you did. There are some great dancers, there's fabulous singers, great actors, but that combination is very rare. You're quite unique.
One of the things that I'm remembering about myself, when singing in the choirs, I sort of knew as a young kid before my voice changed, I could hear my voice. I loved singing. I've always loved singing, recording for Capitol, all of that. But I knew I had a good voice, and I felt so confident about that. So I was lucky that I had a natural sound, a natural singing voice. So that was just another huge plus for me.
Now, most everybody in West Side Story, their singing was actually dubbed by another singer. Was yours?
In the film? No, and to be fair, the only singing that I did in West Side Story was the America number, and you don't really need a singing voice to be able to do what the guys did in the America number. But those were our voices. The only voices that were dubbed were Natalie, who was dubbed by Marnie Nixon, and I can't remember the fellow who sang for Richard Beamer, but those two voices were dubbed. And there were occasional spots, I don't know what they were, where Rita Moreno's voice was dubbed. But basically, it's Rita singing with some exceptions, and all of us singing when we had to. Again, only Natalie and Richard, because those were real singing roles. And Natalie sang; she recorded everything, but they felt it needed to be a slightly better voice, and that's when they brought Marnie Nixon in.
Sure. Just a couple of quick questions about some details of West Side Story, the movie. On page 64 of your book, there are two photographs. One is of Jerome Robbins coaching you in that rather iconic pose with one foot almost vertical off the ground, and your hand extended to what looks like to be about 12 feet off the ground. Your extension there is extraordinary. And then there's a shot of you doing it solo. What do you? Was that? I mean, you look like you are literally off the ground there. Did you feel Did you feel the athleticism of that? I mean, did you understand how iconic that shot would be?
No, that never occurred to me. I did understand the athleticism, so to speak, of it, but I also the thing about that, I understood what Jerry Robbins wanted us to feel when we made that movement. There was an actor's impulse and the reason for that move. And that was thanks to Jerry Robbins, his choreographer, and his instilling in us what all the movement I should slow down. All of it was about. So the emotional, the reasons for all of those moves were based on feeling, and that's what I automatically tried to do whenever I made that move.
So that was you were acting as well as dancing when you're doing that stuff.
That's right. That's one of the beautiful things about West Side Story and Jerome Robbins. With Jerome Robbins, it was never just movement for movement's sake. The movement had to mean something. That was vitally important to anything Jerry did.
And then the imagery of the sharks. Also in the prologue, there's a close up of you guys. I think three of you walking left to right across the frame, and all we see are the sharks' wristbands. Where did that come from? Was that Irene Sharaff?
Well, I'll tell you, the wristband came really by accident. In the course of making it, there was always this play between the Sharks and the Jets of trying to outdo each other constantly. It was fun, and we kept up the feel of the two gangs opposing each other this way. But one of the Sharks, Andre Tailleur, Tayir, he came to rehearsal one day with a wristband. And it was and we all, and the Sharks, we all loved it, and we all got the wristbands, and we started wearing them in rehearsal as part of to identify the Sharks, as it were. And Irene Sharaff, of course, loved that and kept those wristbands, so we wore them in the film as well. But that was one of the guys who thought of that as a way to one-upsmanship against the Jets.
It's funny how those things happen, isn't it? I mean, that became very much a symbol of the Sharks, and even to this day, it lives on. I mean, it's such a cool look, and it certainly distinguished you guys from the Jets.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, that's such a great word, symbol. Those wristbands became a symbol of the Sharks. It was that strong. It was such a great idea on Andre's part, and of course, and Irene Sharaff was one of the extraordinary great film and theater costume designers, and she always designed for character anyway. So, but it absolutely was a symbol, and we loved it so much. It felt so good to have all of us, the Sharks, to be wearing that wristband. I still have mine. And
oh my God, you do?
I do. Yeah.
Oh, that's fabulous.
It's such a treasure. I'll tell you, it really is a treasure.
So, George, you went on to win the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor and the Golden Globe Awards for Westside Story. Can you tell us what the feeling was like when you won?
The best way that I have to try to describe, it's impossible really to describe what any of that feels like, but my best way to try to describe it is to, if I bought a lottery ticket, in my dreams I wouldn't expect to win, but I would kind of hope I could. So that was the feeling sitting in the audience while it was happening. And when your name is called, it's all a blur. You don't really remember anything. You just kind of get through it in this wonderful, wonderful way. You know that something really beautiful has happened, but you're not putting words to it.
You're probably in shock.
Something, yes, it is partly shock, absolutely.
Now you were in your late 20s when you got the Academy Awards and all these other awards.
Yeah, pretty young.
And I think you're memorialized for having one of the shortest Oscar acceptance speeches of all time.
Yeah, because I think now people are obligated to thank so many people that, of course, their speeches, they have to go on longer. And I think we always appreciate a speech that really, as much as possible, comes from the heart. Those are the ones that really grab us.
You were in your late 20s when you accomplished all this. Westside Story is one of a kind. Pretty much on top of the world there. Was it hard for the rest of your career?
Listen, I had been a chorus dancer, and suddenly after Westside Story and the response that we got worldwide, I was in a different place. I didn't know I was in a different place. Well, I kind of did, but not in a knowledgeable kind of way. I was still very green. I'm still kind of green, but the door from that moment on. I never had to look for work, and the work always came to me. So it was an
you were a star.
Happened.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, there we were. I was starring above the title with major stars, Richard Widmark, Yul Brynner, so many people, but I was still new, and I hadn't I didn't grow up. I didn't know what a career was, and I'm not sorry about that. It's just that my knowledge was my practical knowledge was limited, and I hadn't grown up in the business to learn those things and to be aware of them. But yeah, it all happened. It was that moment.
Well, that brings me to this question. A lot of our listeners are aspiring actors and singers, and people want to get into the business. What advice would you give them about agents and managers? Because there's a long section in your book about Ruth Aarons. Yeah.
Yes. Well, by the way, Ruth was great. I loved Ruth Aarons. I think I didn't round my experience with her off the way I should have. She was wonderful. But Ruth, I think I can say this, it's okay. Ruth was a control freak. She really had to be in control. And I didn't recognize that at the time. I didn't know it. But she asked me to give her power of attorney. I didn't know. I said, sure. I gave her power of attorney, which meant that she could make any legal decision on my behalf without ever asking me. So I would say to a young person, one of the first things I ever want to say, don't ever give power of attorney to anyone. Don't do it. They don't need it.
Right.
Yeah. And no one representing you really needs power of attorney. But I made the mistake, and maybe she made the mistake wanting to have it. But because of that, she made a couple of not very wise decisions that affected me along the line, you know. But that's one of the things I would say. And you know, when I was the first movie I did after Westside Story was a movie called Flight from Ashia with Richard Widmark and Yul Brynner. And I really can't tell you why, but I don't remember why. Something told me that, you know, it's not the greatest movie for me to make. But I was with William Morris at the time, and I turned that movie down a couple of times, and I felt embarrassed that I was doing that because they kept telling me to not turn it down. So finally, out of embarrassment, I agreed to do it. And the third time, I said yes. And Abe Lustfogel, who was the head of the William Morris office, gave me 3 reasons why I should do that movie. And his 3 reasons were: it's always good to be working, look at the money you're making, and look at the billing you're getting. And those are all valid reasons, but not a single artistic reason. You know,
right.
That's the thing. Yeah. So, and that's something to think about. I don't regret it at all. Honestly, I had such a great time doing all of that stuff. But I think in today's world, because, you know, over the years with all the ceremonies that anybody can watch over the course. Last night the Golden Globes were on, so young people can watch all of this stuff and without realizing it, sort of start to learn something. So I think with the exposure that we've had over the years, that maybe a younger person is learning something and can deal with things better than or differently than someone, you know, than me in 1960 or 61. But again, I don't regret anything. I was so lucky.
I must say, and I believe today is the release date of your book, My Westside Story. And I just, because our audience may think that you've told everything here, I can assure you,
not even close.
There's a lot in this book. And the thing that really struck me, George, that just really touched me, in the very opening page, the front page, there's a quote from you. And the quote reads, "No matter how dark the moment, love and hope are always possible."
Yeah. I love that quote. You know, somewhere back there, I think it was Larry King who asked different people to, you know, come up with a quote, and that's the one I came up with. I love that. I love that quote, you know.
Well, it's a beautiful sentiment, and I think the entire book is written with that feeling behind it. The honesty. You tell a lot of great stories, obviously, and there's a lot of name dropping, which is spectacular, and I loved every minute of it. But the honesty of that book, it's so honest. And by the way, there are over 100 pictures in the book, which is very unusual for a memoir.
Okay.
And I thought it was very brave of you, because on page 70 you include a still photo from a movie called Kings of the Sun, where you're wearing
Yeah.
sword and sorcery kind of a thing, which went against the advice you got from Natalie Wood, as I recall.
Absolutely. That movie was produced by the Marriage Company, and they signed me to a picture deal before we finished working on Westside Story. And of course, listen, I signed it. I was grateful to have that. But one night we were at Harold Murrish's house for a party, and Natalie was there, and we were talking. And in the course of our conversation, I remember her saying, because she had had a bad experience with it herself, she said, "Don't ever do a costume picture," because she had done a couple and she wasn't happy about them, and she learned to never do a costume picture. Well, she said that to me, and when that film came up, I remember my first exposure to it. I was working, I think I was in London, and the producer, Louis Rackmill, was showing me costume sketches. And I remember thinking, I didn't like the sketches. But the bottom line was, my contract with the Marriage Company was pay or play. That's what they called it. And that is, if you don't play, they don't pay. But the real thing was, I didn't know how. There wasn't a way for me to not do that film. The only way to not do it was to say I was mentally something or other, and I certainly didn't want to do that. And so I ended up doing it. But even that movie, working with Yul and lovely Shirley Ann Field, I mean, it was a wonderful experience. I really enjoyed it, in spite of the fact that it was a costume pictures, and I thought some of it was a little funny sometimes.
Well, I thought it was very, very courageous of you to include that photo in the book. Now, as we wrap up, George, and your time is very valuable, I really appreciate the time you've given us. I do have one final question.
Well, I have a question too, Bob. You first.
Your career has spanned generations, basically, and as a song and dance man, actor, and now you're a jeweler. You have a fabulous line of silver jewelry I've seen online. It's at georgechakiris.com. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Thank you.
Yeah,
I really love doing
your designs are spectacular. But my question for you is, as you look back over all this, what percentage do you attribute to talent, hard work, and just plain luck?
Wow. Hey, they're all important, I think, in equal degrees. But years ago, I think luck, good fortune, opportunities make a huge difference. You can be ready for everything, and if you don't have the opportunity, you'll never be able to use your gift to do anything. So luck, I'll say, can play an important part. Circumstance absolutely plays an important part, because it involves so many different things and other people as well. So, but also when the opportunity arrives, you have to be ready to take it on. So of course, your natural gifts and how you work on them, and to study and work and so on, and to be ready for those moments is just as important. But absolutely, I remember years ago I went to one of the drama schools in London to watch a graduation performance, and these kids were so fantastic. I thought they were better than anything in the West End. But I remember thinking, of all those young people out there, those wonderful, talented young people, who's going to get lucky? So absolutely, I've had moments of good luck in my time, and I recognize that, and I'm so grateful for the good luck that I've had as well.
So I have a question, and I think I know the answer, but I'm not sure. You're a singer and a dancer and an actor. Which is your favorite, if you could only do one?
I think I'd almost start with singing. I love singing.
Wonderful.
George, I just want to thank you once again for your time. You are a spectacular, you're a gift, I'll put it that way.
Well, listen, I've had a great time talking to both of you. I really
thank you
do
so
mean
much.
That. And thank you for your response to the book, because I've always been nervous about that, and I still
Wonderful
am.
book, and I highly recommend it to the audience. In fact, the book was so inspiring to me that I'm going to go back for the 40th time to look at Westside Story, because I'm going to look at it a little bit differently since I read the book.
Thank you, guys. Thank you both so much. Thank you.
Take care.
Take care.
God bless.
Be safe. Bye-bye. What a nice person. I love talking with him. So talented and such a nice guy.
Absolutely. Just a wonderful talent in so many ways. So be sure to check out George's book, My Westside Story. It's available at Amazon and everywhere books are sold. And also, I really do recommend you go to georgechakiris.com. He's got a fabulous website with lots of pictures from all his movies, all his TV shows, and check out his jewelry. The guy really has a lot of talent.
Very talented, and I'm seriously going to go back and look at Westside Story because I have a whole new perspective on it since we've spoken to George.
Yeah, terrific movie, terrific guy. So thanks again, Suzanne.
And we'll see you at the movies.